This video is brought to you by the Radical Centrist, a page for individuals who are sick and tired of lies and nonsense from both sides and are ready to engage in spirited conversations with an open mind and, above all, with mutual respect for one another. If you want to join us, you can join us at the Radical Centrist group on Facebook, or if you have questions or things that you want us to talk about, you can email us at theradicalcentristguy@gmail.com. In this video, we're going to be talking about the viral video sent by Candace Owens in regards to the George Floyd killing that occurred in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So in her video, she talks about a lot of things, and most of those things are her personal opinion. But towards the end of the video, she quotes a statistic that really popped out to us. And that statistic said, a police officer is 18.5 times more likely to be killed by a black man than an unarmed black man is to be killed by a police officer. It was interesting because we kept seeing this same quote come up across the internet, and it was quoted by a number of other online influencers as well. So we took a look to find out where this number came from and try to understand if it could be true, if it's misleading, or if it's entirely false. This is the Wall Street Journal opinion article where this statistic first seems to appear. And that article is called The Myth of Systemic Police Racism, written by Heather McDonald on June 2nd of 2020. In this article, she mentions this statistic. However, there's no information about how that statistic was compiled, what data it's based on, or where it came from. So we decided it was time to dive into the raw data and find out if, in fact, this statistic could be true. So in order to fact check this, we need two sets of data. The first set of data that we need is the unarmed people killed by police in a given year. For this, we're going to use the year 2019 because it's the most recent complete year that we have full data from. So for this, we're going to flip over to the Fatal Force Index, which is a compilation of police killings each year over the last number of years. Here it's being displayed by the Washington Post. They've done a very good job of putting together an interactive database so that you can search among this 1,003 people who were killed by police and understand the demographics. So we're going to go down here to search the database. So first, we're going to take a look at race. So we can see that out of 1,003 people who were killed by police, we're going to take a look first at white. 405 of those were white. Now let's take a look at black. Of that 1,003, 249 people shot and killed by police were black. And now we're going to take a look at unarmed. So we can click here and click on unarmed. And we can see that in 2019, 55 people who were shot and killed by police were considered unarmed. Unarmed means that they were not carrying a gun or a knife. Now, of that 55 who were unarmed, we can see that 25 of those were white. And then we can see that 14 of those were black. So that's the data set that we need in order to get started. So let's flip over to our Excel spreadsheet, and you can see that first we've put in this data set. So we got 1,003 are the total number in 2019 of people who were killed by police. 405 of those were white. 249 of those were black, which means that 40.4% were white and about 25% were black. We also know then that the unarmed amount, there were 55 cases of those being killed by police being unarmed. That's about 5.6% of the time. We can see that 25 of those were white and 14 were black, which is 45.5% white and 25.5% black. So the first observation we have is that those being killed by police as a total versus unarmed killed by police, the numbers and statistics pretty much mirror each other. The percentages are almost the same. So we don't see a difference in terms of racial demographic, whether the person was armed or unarmed. Okay, the second piece of data that we're going to need is the police who were feloniously killed in 2019. Feloniously killed means that they were purposely killed. There are a lot of different ways that police officers die, but we're going to look at the numbers of those who were murdered, purposely killed. So for that, we're going to flip over to FBI.gov. So this is the FBI.gov. This is their annual report that they put together, and one of the sections of that report is called the Law Enforcement Officers Killed and Assaulted. This is a very credible, definitely the best database for all sorts of different demographics in terms of crime, and this database is going to tell us about law enforcement officers and how they were killed. So if we scroll down here on table 42, you'll see that we have the known offenders. So the total number of known offenders in 2019, we have 49. There were actually 54 police who were killed in 2019. 49 of those, we know their identity. You can see that of that, we've got 28 who were white, and we've got 15 who were black. So we can use that data and add it to our table. So now you can see that we've added the data from police who were killed in action, and you can see how that is laid out. So we've got a total of 54 police officers who were killed in 2019, and actually 11 of those were black. So that means that roughly 20% of police officers killed in 2019 were actually black. Now let's take a look at the offenders. So we know that there were 54 total police officers killed, and we know that known offenders, we have 28 who were white, and we have 15 who were black. So that means that about 52% of those who killed police in 2019, we know that those offenders were 52% white. And we know that those who killed police offenders were 27, about 28% black. It's also worth noting that of those cases, 4 of them were actually unarmed, meaning that the police officers were killed actually by someone who did not have a weapon. In this case, those 4 cases were with a motor vehicle. So that's 7.4% of the time that police officers are killed, they're actually killed by someone who would fall into the classification as unarmed. So now we have the data sets, and now we can start to make a couple of observations. The first thing we're going to notice is that the percent of race breakdown in terms of those who kill police officers is actually very similar to those who are killed by police officers. But you'll notice that the numbers here, both for white and for black, the percentages are a bit higher for those who kill police officers. And that's because we're not showing the data for Hispanics. Hispanics are also killed by police officers, but they're actually less likely to kill police officers. And so that's why this data is being skewed just a little bit. But if we remove that from the conversation, you can see that the percentage of those who are killing police officers very much matches those who are being killed by police officers. So now we're going to put the data next to each other and find out if Candace Owens' claim and the claim made in the opinion piece of Wall Street Journal is in fact true. So first we've got, in 2019, cops who were murdered, killed, was 54. Cops who were killed by white individuals was 28. Cops killed by black individuals was 15. Unarmed individuals who were killed by police was 55. Unarmed individuals who were white is 25, and unarmed black individuals who were killed is 14. So it's pretty incredible actually to see that these two sets of data almost exactly mirror each other. So that is the information that we want to use to fact check this particular claim, because the claim was that there's 18.5 times difference between these groups. And so now we can start to make some conclusions about whether that statistic is actually true. So based on the data that we found and put together, our number one first conclusion in terms of whether or not this statistic, a police officer is 18.5 times more likely to be killed by a black man than an unarmed black man is to be killed by a police officer, we have to say that based on the data, this is false. This statement cannot be backed up by the statistics that we're finding. So our first conclusion is that in 2019, police officers were approximately equally as likely to be killed as unarmed citizens were. That's 55 unarmed killed versus 56 police officers killed. The second conclusion is that in 2019, black police officers were approximately equally as likely to be killed as unarmed black citizens were. That's 11 black police officers killed versus 15 unarmed black men killed by police in 2019. And the third conclusion is that the demographics of unarmed people killed by police mirror the demographics of those who have been killed by police officers. For example, 25.5% of unarmed individuals who were killed by police were black, and 27.8% of police officers were killed by black individuals. So these are the conclusions that we can come to based on the actual data. This video was put together by the Radical Centrists. If you have anything else that you would like us to cover, if you're seeing other statistics flying around that don't feel right, please contact us. You can join us on Facebook, or you can send us a direct email at the email below.